I recently got a new motorcycle helmet, and I want to talk about some of the stuff that went into the purchase, the things that affected my purchase of that helmet, some of the things that I look for when I'm buying a helmet, and I'm going to contradict something that I said in a video just a couple of weeks ago. So like I said in the video a couple of weeks ago on fitting a proper motorcycle helmet, my preference is Shoei. I've always liked Shoei helmets, and that's not changed. I know Shoei helmets fit me well. I know the shape of the helmet fits my head shape, and I've never had any quality control issues with Shoei helmets. Shoei makes a great helmet. It's my go-to brand when shopping for a new motorcycle helmet. I've used HJC, and I think HJC is a really good budget option. I've had one Arai, and I did have some quality control issues with the Arai that I had, but I think overall it's a fantastic brand as well. But Shoei has just never failed me, so I tend to stick with that whenever I'm shopping for a new helmet. So this is the helmet that I'm replacing. This is my old Shoei RF-1400, and I've had this helmet for a few years now. It's been a great helmet. You know, it's got my MCrider decal on the back of it. It's got that transition shield on it that gets darker whenever I'm out. That shield has been good. It doesn't quite get dark enough for me, but the transition shield has been good, and it's got the pin lock in there. If you're not familiar with pin lock is it's like a liner that clips inside the helmet. It attaches to these little posts right here. Not sure if you can see that, but there's some little posts right there, and that's the pin lock that goes around there. Keeps the helmet from fogging up in colder weather and in the mornings. Keeps the visor from fogging up. But this has been a really good helmet. I've also got a Shoei GT Air. I'm not sure if you guys can see that in the background. It's that gray helmet in the back. That's been a good helmet as well. I've liked all of the Shoeis that I've ever owned. That RF-1200 model's been around for about 7 years now, and it's probably considered the measuring helmet for a whole lot of other helmets. You know, people will compare it on, well, does it match up to the RF-1200? Because it sits kind of in the middle, the upper end of mid-priced helmets, and people compare it based on price and features that you would get on a helmet. So it's kind of been a standard for Shoei for a long time, and a standard in the motorcycle industry. There are a few reasons why I've got a slight preference to the RF lineup over that GT Air in the back. The biggest is the type of strap on the helmet. The RF helmets have that double D-ring fastener, so that's this type of fastener right here that's got the two metal D-rings, and that's really what I prefer on a helmet. And the double D-ring has been available on helmets for a whole lot of years. The GT Air's got that ratchet style type fastener, and I don't have any concerns about the safety of that ratchet fastener, but I do get annoyed by the bulk of it. When I wear the GT Air, that ratchet is constantly catching on the collar of my riding jacket every time I turn my head, as it sticks right down here and it just catches on that collar. As a result, I kind of have to lift my head up to turn my head, and that gets really annoying whenever I want to check a blind spot and that ratchet is catching on the collar of my jacket. And in my opinion, the ratchet just adds bulk to the strap, and it's a solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. The D-ring fasteners are simple, they always work, and they've been shown to offer more strength than other types of fasteners. There's an interesting video out there. Ryan F9 released a video recently comparing the relative strength of all the different fastener types. The D-ring and that ratchet type fastener were involved in that, and the D-ring proved to not only be the simplest design, but the strongest also. And with that D-ring fastener, I don't have to mess with that catching on my collar every time. The one advantage that the GT Air has is that drop-down tinted visor inside the helmet. So if you ride in day or night settings, that may make your decision for you. It's a nice option to have, to be able to drop that down when the sun's in your eyes and lift it up at night. However, that drop-down visor is not as dark as a dark smoke visor that you'll typically get, and it leaves some gaps. So you can see gaps right in here that the visor leaves whenever it's all the way down, and those gaps will let light in or sun in, particularly from the road, or glares off the tank, and that can kind of be annoying on rides, particularly when the sun's at the highest position. One other thing to consider with the drop-down internal visor is that gap left by the visor whenever it drops down. So how well we can be able to see this, but that drops down right into here, and that leaves a void that has to retract into whenever it's in the up position. I think that void is one reason why you never see helmets with the drop-down internal visor with the Snell rating, because I don't believe that they can pass a Snell safety test because of that void left between the shell and the internal lining of the helmet. I may be wrong on that, but that's an educated guess on my part, that void makes this not able to meet Snell standards. It's not really a big deal, but it is something to consider if you're looking for a Snell rated helmet. So that drop-down visor does offer some convenience, but it doesn't function as well as a dark smoke visor does. The dark smoke visor does a better job at shielding the rider from the sun, but you either have to limit your riding during the day, or you can carry a clear visor, or you can carry some riding goggles like this. I carry these with me on the bike. If I'm caught out at night, I just pop that dark smoked visor up. I slide these on under the helmet. They've got foam padding around there to keep dirt and debris from getting in my eyes, and I ride with these on. I'm never out at very long at dark, so this gives me enough time to get home and keeps my eyes protected on the ride home. However, on longer trips, if I know I'm going to be out for a while, I'll carry a clear visor with me, and I can swap those out easily on the road. So, okay, I've got the GT Air, I've got the older RF-1200. What did I replace the RF-1200 with? Well, I believe it's the new standard for motorcycle helmets, in my opinion anyway, and that's the Shoei RF-1400. That's Shoei's replacement for the 1200. 1200's been around for about 7 years, and this is the Shoei RF-1400. Their brand new helmet in their lineup has been out for a few months now. So like I said, this is the flagship for the Shoei helmets in their lineup, and I always think of the Shoei RF helmets and believe it to be the best motorcycle helmet that Shoei knows how to make at a price point that keeps it in that $500 price range. Some of the things that stayed the same from the RF-1200 to the 1400 is the shell of the helmet. It's still the AIM Plus composite shell, so it's still the same material. It's very lightweight and a very safe helmet. It's DOT and Snell and ECE rated. And they still have 4 different shell sizes, so the smaller sized helmets are going to have a smaller outside shell. Larger is going to be a bigger shell. So Shoei doesn't compromise fit and safety by making a one-piece shell and then adjusting the foam on the inside in order to fit the helmet to the particular rider's size. I mentioned at the start of this video that I would contradict something that I said in the video just a few weeks ago, and here's what I said just a couple of weeks ago about finding a proper fitting helmet. I like Shoei because they're top quality helmets, and experiences told me that I can pick any large Shoei helmet and I'll get a helmet that fits me properly and offers great protection. So following my own advice, I went to a local shop. I grabbed a Shoei RF-1400 size large from the shelf and I put it on my head. It was considerably tighter on my head than I remembered any of the other Shoei helmets being on me whenever I first put them on. I wore it for a few minutes in the shop and I thought, man, this is not going to break in enough for me to get comfortable fit with it. So I looked down and saw an XL on the shelf. I put that on my head and the magic happened, and it was still snug. In fact, it borderlined on tight, but I knew that this was the size helmet that I needed in the RF-1400. So maybe it's from all the kind words and compliments I get from you guys that my head is swollen a little bit, but I think I found a more valid reason on why I needed to move up to the XL in the RF-1400 and why it fits me better. Shoei states that from the 1200 to the 1400, they beefed up some of the protection in the side of the helmets. And I don't know if that affected the fit of these helmets or not, but I have always worn a Shoei large in every helmet that I've ever owned. But for some reason in this 1400, this extra large fits me better. So like I said in the video a couple of weeks ago, fit is key, and you really need to try on a few helmets in the store. I guess even if it's something that you're used to, because if I'd ordered that large online, I would have had to return it because the XL is what I wear in this 1400. But that fit is not something you want to compromise on. It becomes a torture device if you're wearing a helmet that doesn't fit you properly. And that's why I always recommend, if you're going to order online, to order from Revzilla. They offer free exchanges for a helmet that doesn't fit properly. Just don't ride around in it. You know, try it on, wear it around the house, and make sure that it's the right helmet for you before you start pulling any labels off of it. And if it's not, you can send it back in and they'll exchange it for something that fits you better. So it was time to replace the RF-1200. I've had it for a few years now. Riding here in Texas, I've done a fair amount of sweating inside that RF-1200, and all of that adds to the degradation of the protective foam. Plus, I saw this RF-1400, man, it's MCrider colors. You know, I couldn't pass up on that. Was just calling my name as soon as I saw it, and then I thought, man, how good is that MCrider decal going to look on the back of this helmet? It just fit it, so I knew I had to go ahead and buy it. I transferred my Cena from the RF-1200 to the 1400, and there is some questions on whether or not you can get a Cena to fit on the RF-1400 with the clip-on. Well, this is proof that you can. It's just clipping right here between the pad and the shell of the helmet, and I've not had any issues at all. It was a little more difficult to install than some of them I've put on, but you can get a Cena on the RF-1400 as well. I'm not sure what Shoei calls this particular helmet design, but to me this is the MCrider Special. I've been riding with it for about a week now, and I really like the new helmet. It's got that dark smoked visor on it, and if you're sensitive to the sun like I am, having a dark visor is a real bonus. You know, I've got this left eye that stays dilated in the sun, and that dark tinted visor without having any gaps in there is really the way to go for me. It's vented a whole lot better than the old 1200, so it's got a different vent up here, and the vents here are pretty much the same, and then it's got a nice decent sized vent in the back that really pulls the air through this helmet well. The GT Air has always pulled air through better than the RF-1200 did in the past, but I would say this is on par, if not better, than the GT Air at moving air through the helmet. It's lightweight. That new cheek pad design, so on the cheek pads, they wrap around the bottom of your jawline a little more. That makes it feel a little bit different putting it on, but it also makes the helmet much more secure on your head, because that becomes a point where it secures to your head. And that also, because it's tighter just under your jawline, is going to help insulate you from a lot of road noise and wind noise, because the more of that you can block out, the more noise you're going to keep from getting to your ears. So that's really beneficial as well. So let's talk for a minute about the MCrider decal on the back of this helmet. I know what you're thinking, you know, how can I get one of these decals for my helmet or my motorcycle? I used to have a dedicated page for viewers to order decals anytime they wanted, and I sold a ton of them, but it got to be a real problem keeping up with the shipping and filling orders and, you know, all the stuff that goes along with it. So I changed it as a reward for membership, and I've had it as a member reward at certain levels to get a free MCrider reflective decal. But I've heard from a lot of riders that want extra decals. They already support the channel and they want some extras, or they don't support the channel, but they would still like to have a reflective decal for their helmet or motorcycle. So for a limited time, I'm just going to leave this open for 1 week so I'm not inundated with shipping orders for the next year. So it'll only be open for 1 week. If you go to mcrider.com/decal, you can purchase your own reflective MCrider reflective decal. But after that week, I'm going to take that page down. So if you're seeing this video and you want a decal and it's within a week of the launch of this video, head over to mcrider.com/decal and you can order one of these. Actually, you can order two. I've got one on every helmet that I own. I've got one on every motorcycle I own. So if you own a bunch of motorcycles, you may have to order a bunch of them. So these decals are reflective. They add a little pop of light to your helmet or your motorcycle riding at night, and they help support the channel. So if you'd like a decal, I'm going to leave that open for a week for you to get a decal for your helmet or your motorcycle. But leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think about the Shoei RF-1400. I know there are some members and some other riders out there that are riding with this helmet. I've seen your comments on it in the video a week ago, and that's kind of what got me looking at the helmet to begin with. So leave me your thoughts. What do you like? What do you dislike about it? What have you learned about the helmet? Or if you're in the market and I can answer any questions, leave a comment below and we'll try to get to those as well. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.